Today I want to read a scripture from a book called Jesus the Christ. And here it talks about an experience that Christ had with one of his apostles. It says, when the officers approached and seized Jesus, some of the apostles, ready to fight and die for their beloved master, asked, Lord, shall we smite with the sword? Peter, waiting not for a reply, drew his sword and delivered a poorly aimed stroke at the head of one of the nearest crowd, whose ear was severed by the blade. The man thus wounded was Malchus, a servant of the high priest. And so here in this moment, we have Jesus with his apostles, his friends, his boys, and when somebody grabs Jesus kind of out of nowhere when they're walking, his apostles say, oh no, we should be doing something. They kind of have a mini pause and they think about it and they say it out loud. But then one apostle, Peter, immediately just draws a sword and strikes and cuts this other guy's ear off. Jesus, asking liberty of his captors by the simplest request, suffer ye thus far? Jesus says, have I hurt you at all? Stepped forward and healed the injured man by a touch, and then Jesus Christ heals this man and puts his ear back on. He then turns to Peter, and the Lord rebuked his rashness and commanded him to return the sword to its scabbard with a reminder that all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. Then, to show the needlessness of armed resistance and to emphasize the fact that he was submitting voluntarily and in accordance with the foreseen and predicted development, the Lord continued, thinkest thou that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently giveth me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then shall the scripture be fulfilled that thus it must be? So I love this because it, in the moment of our life right now, there's a lot of things that are stirring, a lot of needlessness of arm resistance, a lot of movement that quickly can be regrettable. And I plead unto you who's listening on the Spiritual Sunday that you can learn to love one another better, that you can love yourself better, that you can work on yourself better. And one of the biggest things that I learned from this insight is that from this book, Jesus the Christ, is that we need to be more patient. We need to ask ourselves and pause before we act. We need not be like Peter and be so passionate that we strike somebody's ear off, right? We need to be kinder with our words. There's a quote that says, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. And that's not always true. Words do hurt people on social media. Words hurt people online, whether you type them or whether you read them. We are a fight or flight type of people. And these type of things can stir us. We need to think in a higher manner and have more maturity in our actions, in our thoughts, and in our deeds. And this is something very hard to do, right? If you're a parent and your child, tears or you spill something on your favorite shoes or your favorite, bag, designer bag, you're gonna get agitated really quickly. And you need to be able to learn to pause and say, these things can be replaced. But I love this example because it shows that the ear cannot be replaced. You can't just get a new ear. And Christ healed that ear. He showed that something that is very likely not to be replaced was and became replaced by him, because he healed them. And he said, I'm not doing anything bad to you guys. I was just walking. Nonetheless, I will still help him, and I will also complete my mission. I could call legions of angels right now and they could come help me, but I will be taken by you. But there is no need for needless type of restraint and force. And I want to share this with you all because of just the emotions that we have going around recent incidents here in the world, in the United States, in the government. And I just want to hopefully share with those that have whatever political side you're on or whatever religious side you're on, to just be more patient, be more kind. Know that nobody wakes up hoping to cause destruction in someone else's life, but that naturally we tend to fall in those type of categories because we don't control our emotions. And us being adults, we need to learn to control our emotions better and continue to develop ourselves as human beings. Not compare yourself with someone else, but be a better you than you were yesterday. And I hope this helps. I hope that on the Spiritual Sunday you can learn to reflect and refine, because that's what life is all about. So, see you later.